That man is not allowed in my pub. No, Laura. I'm not going to physically hurt him. That man... Oi! That's assault. I am not bothering you. I am not bothering him. That man is not allowed in my pub. Get out of my pub. Go on. Get out of my pub. Thank you.
Bring David Cameron back.
Wow, absolutely incredible moments caught on video in the United Kingdom where a bar owner kicked out a pro-lockdown politician from his establishment, something that, of course, needs more attention and, in my opinion, deserves to be shared a lot more. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org, and man, the news seems to be getting utterly more insane by the day, especially from the latest announcement from the U.S. Military Strategic Command, which we're going to be talking about in full detail in this video, as well as a lot of other current events unfolding in the United States right now. And just seriously, there's so much news to cover. We're just jumping right into it, as of course many Americans are finding it harder and harder to distinguish what is truth and what is fiction, especially from the mainstream media, as of course we have yet another glaring example of how the U.S. establishment, mainstream media, major elements, major parts of it, lied in order to push a narrative surrounding the events that happened in January 6th, where many mainline outlets told you that Trump supporters used a fire extinguisher and bludgeoned a police officer to his demise, which we found out wasn't true. This, of course, was a major narrative, a major talking point, and now we're learning that the New York Times, mainstream media sources all spread fake news with a fake story that they literally made up, as now we're finding out that this officer passed away from natural causes 8 hours after the incident. I'm still personally waiting for those very strong corrections that these outlets should be making, and also the YouTube penalties of demonetizing these channels for spreading fake news knowingly. I got time, but I think I'm gonna be waiting a long time. In related propaganda, disinformation, psychological warfare that is disguised as news, we have this latest piece from the Washington Post that published a story about the war in Afghanistan by a member of the board of directors of Raytheon, a major military-industrial complex company that has enriched themselves absolutely tremendously through the foolish American foreign policy that has severely hurt so many people. Now, this Washington Post article that advocated for more ways for Raytheon to make money didn't disclose that it was written by a board member of Raytheon, who of course was advocating for her company to make more money off of the human tragedy that is the Afghanistan war. Another person who's heavily invested into Raytheon is our current Secretary of Defense, who still owns a lot of Raytheon stock, as of course Raytheon is still given blank checks, no bid contracts, on fueling the war machine to the tune of billions of dollars, which of course enriches this company to the detriment of everyone else. And let's also be honest here, with a very aggressive American foreign policy towards Russia, you could bet your bottom dollars that the coffers of the military-industrial complex will continue to be filled as, of course, tensions are ratcheting up. We're going to get into that story plus a lot more, but just simply questioning a lot of these narratives leaves me personally and this company under attack by usually a lot of shills that either work for the company, work for other agencies, or just absolutely ignorant fools who don't like us questioning the narratives that is being shoved down America's throat. And that's why we have changed our media strategy and recently launched LukeUncensored.com, our own exclusive video platform where we can actually talk about even more bombastic, explosive issues that, of course, we can't even dare to touch on this platform. In today's video, I am going to be specifically talking about my own personal preparations for the upheaval and instability in our modern-day society. I'll be sharing some insights into some of the moves I'm making financially, mentally, physically, societally, and so on. All of this is available, plus a lot more, by just simply clicking the link down below and checking out LukeUncensored.com. We have a new landing page with a lot of very important details about what you will be getting. LukeUncensored.com unrest.com is the website. Click it right now down below. Now, in related countering the absolutely absurd, ridiculous narratives that are being shoved down America's throat, we of course have the latest news surrounding the sickness from last year, where the governor of Florida just denounced, quote, Fauciism, specifically detailing how lockdowns and restrictions on poor people don't work, detailing how he set up a plan that would protect elderly people while keeping businesses open, which, if we look at the data, especially from similar states that instituted these policies like Mississippi and Texas, you see a very strong, convincing case that I believe has some legitimacy compared to, of course, the very diverse viewpoints that do so often change and contradict themselves from, of course, individuals like Dr. Fauci. And the policies in Florida have been working so well that even Michigan's governor, that has implemented some of the most strictest lockdowns in the United States, that has some of the most severe number of uptick in cases and deaths and hospitalizations than anywhere else in the United States right now, the governor that told everyone to stay home to avoid travel also just recently vacationed in Florida herself. Kind of odd how that happens there. Yeah, that's a very awkward moment for her. Now, of course, if it's not the sickness you got to worry about, it's, of course, a lot of the civil unrest that a lot of people are expecting. As, of course, many people point out how U.S. Congresswoman Maxine Waters has been fanning the flames of unrest. And just yesterday, the judge in the Derek Chauvin trial called her actions, quote, abhorrent, and says this may actually result in the whole trial being overturned. The judge, by the way, also has very strong connections to former Democrats, working with them extensively before becoming a judge. So these comments are very forthcoming, especially with this very turbulent situation that is becoming more and more absolutely dangerous. Maxine Waters' response to this was absolutely nonsensical, as she says that her, quote, words don't matter. It did, as she tries to, of course, brush off the incitements that she called for. If, of course, a jury didn't do what she wanted them to do. She, of course, did this at a protest that is mainly against the police, as, of course, she herself requested police protection during these protests, which are mainly against the police. Kind of funny how that also is a little bit of a contradiction there, don't you say? In related contradiction news, a Black Lives Matter group started protesting for a victim of a police shooting that also just recently happened in Minnesota. Protesters actually set off on a march, and only to stop it halfway when they found out that the victim was white. Yeah, holy, I mean... Yeah, I think it's fair to say that there definitely is a narrative here, that there definitely is an agenda here. A lot of it is coming from very rich, powerful individuals that, of course, mainly do a lot of these things for their own personal benefit, while, of course, hurting the current generation and the future generation of this country in absolutely unspeakable ways. In related selling out the American people news, we of course have the latest saber-rattling and counter-narratives between the United States and Russia on full sight, as of course the United States just announced that Russian troops have built up near the Ukrainian border bigger than they did in 2014 during, of course, the revolution that the United States, European Union, and NATO have backed. A revolution that, of course, wanted to turn Ukraine away from the sphere of influence of Russia and towards, of course, Western powers. Ukraine still currently is involved in a proxy war that is happening on the east front of its country. The situation is, of course, getting more turbulent as more countries keep sending their war machines down into the region. The United States announced recently that they were going to send 2 warships. They have stopped the deployment of those 2 warships. Now, the United Kingdom is announcing that they are deploying 2 warships into that same region that the United States just backed out of. NATO and the U.S. military are, of course, also amassing their soldiers, their troops, their military hardware near Ukraine, just like Russia is. But mainly in the Western media, we only hear about Russia doing this, but this happens on, of course, a mutual level, and it deserves to be addressed like that. But these escalations are worrisome, mainly because if they continue on the trajectory that they are, this could lead to an extremely horrible situation that even U.S. military personnel at the Strategic Command are warning people about, even specifically telling the United States to, quote, prepare for nuclear war because of the, quote, unpredictable conflict that could escalate rapidly, where countries could consider nuclear use as their least bad option. Yes, this is official announcement from the U.S. Strategic Command in testimony given to Congress that described today's larger geopolitical conflict between Russia and the United States as, quote, neither linear nor predictable. And I would absolutely agree with him on that. As you know, just a few days ago, I told you that the situation is going to get worse. Weeks ago, months ago, I told you to keep an eye on Russia and the United States and the larger proxy war. I've predicted a lot of this stuff. You go to the previous videos where I talk about this. I tell you what's going to be happening. It's happening right now. These escalations will, of course, continue. Hopefully, there's a pause. Hopefully, there's a de-escalation. The probability of a full, all-out nuclear war, well, it's slim, because that will pretty much mean assured mutual destruction, and of course, both countries don't want that. But again, as I've been saying previously, in just even the last video, there's a probability of this, and it's slim, but the fact that it's still slim still should be absolutely significant, especially with the continuation of ratcheting up of tensions. As you know, I have always called for diplomacy, and that's the opposite of what's happening, as many diplomats and ambassadors are leaving each other's countries. Sanctions are being put in place. Tensions are being tested. Soldiers are being moved. And as they wait in position, we're stuck in the stupid, asinine position for who and for what? The benefit of Raytheon, the military-industrial complex? What? Who wins from this? Absolutely no one. It's absolutely ridiculous. There should be a way to go and work out the problems between these two nations diplomatically. This saber rattling is childish, it's archaic, and it's putting everyone's lives in danger here. U.S. NATO troops move in, Russian troops move in. Right now, 20 Russian warships are staging a military exercise in the Black Sea. Russia wants to hold that position, will never give up Crimea because of its geopolitical strategic location that is essential for Russia when it comes to even any other potential future engagements that could happen with these proxy wars that are slowly escalating to grand proportions. The United States is blaming Russia. Russia is blaming the United States, saying that the United States putting troops on the Russian border is a, quote, destabilizing action, and there definitely needs to be a de-escalation here, and there most likely won't be any. The situation will get tense. There most likely will be some more significant proxy conflicts that are already happening. Many people don't know this. There's already still conflict and war happening in Ukraine right now. Personally, I believe some of these tensions, some of these conflicts will ratchet up. I do believe things are going to get more tense from here. There's really no other way of seeing it. The chances of all-out nuclear war and utter catastrophe are very slim, but still should be considered and taken very seriously, in my own personal opinion. That's my take on it. If you think I was wrong in any way, shape, or form, let me know why in the comment section below. I always appreciate your constructive criticism. I always appreciate you guys showing me other evidence, other facts, other news stories to give me a perspective that I wouldn't naturally normally get. I always try to seek out the truth. I hope I presented that to the best of my abilities, and if you think I did, share this video with your friends, family members, strangers, random people. You meet someone online, someone sends you a friend request, you don't even know who they are. Respond just by sending them this video, and if they respond positively, add them. If they don't, cancel. I got a lot to say on LukeUncensored.com. I've been having a lot of fun doing that. I'm going to focus a lot of my efforts on this. If this channel's gone, I'm going to be there. LukeUncensored.com. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.